Hey there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Sandy Butchers and I am so glad you found me. This is the place where art, stories and a little bit of real life magic come together. I share my process, my inspirations and the things I learn along the way so you can take those ideas and run with them in your own creative journey. Before we dive into today's video, I'd like to give you all a quick reminder. If you enjoy these videos and want to see more of them, the simplest way to support is, well, exactly what you're already doing. Watch this video and hopefully like and subscribe. It genuinely makes a difference. Alternatively, if you'd like to take it a step further, I do have a Patreon where you can get access to extra tips, behind the scenes content, and exclusive art merch that you won't find anywhere else. We've got print releases, sticker packs, and sometimes even early access to bigger projects. Think of it like an art club, where you get the VIP pass and all the fun stuff. You'll find the link in the description below, but that is enough for the intro. Let's get into today's piece, because the inspiration behind this one comes from a very personal part of my life. Welcome back to another Butcher Shop. So here's something most people don't know about me. I haven't been able to smell since I was a kid. It's not that I just never paid attention, I just literally couldn't. When I was younger, I think I was around 10 or something around that age, I used to get these really bad nosebleeds. We're talking full-on crime scene levels of nosebleeds. Eventually it got bad enough that I had to go to the hospital for treatment, and during that process, and no one actually even realized it at first, but a nerve ending got hit with the thing that was supposed to fix me, and that was it. My sense of smell was just gone. For years, it wasn't something I thought about too much. You know, you adapt, life goes on, but honestly, there was the whole invisible layer of the world you stop having access to. You can see things and you can hear them, you can touch them, but you just can't smell things anymore. It just sort of stops existing. And it was really weird because I grew up being able to smell, and then for I think it was more than 20 years, just nothing. So anyway, fast forward to a few years ago, something very unexpected happened. Slowly, and I do mean very, very slowly, my sense of smell started to come back. So those nerve endings that got damaged had mended over time, and I started to notice that suddenly I was able to smell new things. So imagine smelling rain on a warm pavement for the very first time in decades. Or fresh bread out of the oven, or even like candles, scented candles. Those are still moments where, even though I'm currently 36, I smell things for the first time. There are still scents or smells that I have never smelled before, or that have been gone for like more than 20 years. And it's freaking awesome. And every time it happens, it feels like this little gift I wasn't expecting. So today's illustration is based on one of those moments. I was in my studio working late, and I lit this candle that I'd been gifted. It was vanilla and cream smell. I could smell it, and it was great. It was rich, it was very sweet, it was warm, and it was one of those scents that makes you feel like you're wrapped in this nice warm blanket. And I wanted to capture that feeling in a piece of art, in an artwork. So it was not just the look of the candle that suddenly became a subject to one of my paintings, but it was the way the scent made the whole room sort of glow in my mind. And that's what we're working on in today's video. I'm building an illustration that isn't just about what you see, but it's also very much about the story and feeling behind it. Alright, so let's get into some of the technical things that were part of this illustration. I'll walk you through my process in sort of different types of segments. They're not specifically like in chronological order, but I did try to sort of put them in a logical order, or at least prioritize them in a form where I think the first couple of segments that I'm going to talk about are actually the most important parts to sort of set up any piece of art. So for example, something that is really important in my process is defining key colors. So for vanilla and cream, as the general theme of this illustration, I knew I wanted warm, sort of buttery yellows, soft whites, and a few, well, not a few, actually, a lot of different types of browns, because obviously we're looking at a tree, so I wanted these natural colors to sort of complement the buttery colors of the smell. So in this case, you'll see that I have a very strong palette of greens, browns, and yellows. And the trick here is to sort of pick your colors in relation to each other. So not looking at them isolated. So I'm not looking at a particular green or a particular brown. I'm looking at how those colors interact with each other. So I always place these swatches side by side on the canvas and tweak them until they feel sort of harmonious. And here's something very important. You might want to try to avoid getting too saturated right away. If you look at the basic colors, especially the colors in the background, I think that's where you see where I'm going with the palette for the very first time, but also in the most outspoken way. You see that the saturation of these colors is actually really toned down. They are very earthly colors, very natural looking colors. So that once the light comes on, as in the windows are going to glow and there's going to be some fireflies flying around, those are going to be the super, like, incredibly saturated colors. So there's going to be a contrast between what is very natural and then something that is very, not chemical, but, well, magical in a way. You know, magical lights are not natural, so they stand out. And in this case, I do that through upping the saturation of the colors. So pull back on that initial saturation, right? You want to start with a background that is just easy on the eyes. It's very important. I personally work with 5 or 6 colors. And I try to sort of divide those colors across the canvas. So before I even start coloring or detailing, I know I have a very, very good idea of which color goes where. Right. Now, even though we're already quite a bit into the illustration, another very important segment or phase in the creation process is blocking out your values. And I don't do this all the time. Sometimes I sit down and just start winging this thing. but 9 out of 10 times I think about where my values go. So where are my lights and my darks? Where are the contrasting bits and pieces? Now, the funny thing is that I've been told that I do this in a sort of unconventional way, because even though this is a different segment on its own, I also create different segments of the illustration while I'm working on it. So in this case, I worked on the tree, on the lower half of the tree, before I started to work on that tree house. And then when I worked on the tree house, and you'll see that later on, only after that I work on the crown of the tree. And then I start adding these background foliage and trees and all the like tiny details in the foreground. So I very much work in different segments, different blocks of work. And that's simply because my ADHD brain does not allow me to focus on the whole thing. I know there's so many artists out there that would have just colored in the whole tree to start with and get those values blocked out in the whole thing. I kind of did that in these different blocks. So I did that for the bottom half of the tree, for the house, and then for the top of the tree. Yes, it's unconventional, sure. The theory behind it remains the same. So it doesn't really matter all that much how you work with your values. I do think and it's a good practice to do that before you start detailing. But yeah, so blocking out your values is basically the foundation of your work. Before we even start thinking about the details, think in grayscale. So if you would hang up a lamp on a specific point, so basically imagine where the sun is, and just think which parts are going to catch the light, which parts are going to catch the dark. Light and shadow are the real backbone of any artwork. If your values are off, it doesn't matter how beautiful your colors are, it won't really read correctly. So again, as you saw on the tree, I start with these really big chunky shapes, all these different sort of branches that grow together, turn into roots. Basically just block them out and I start defining, so this is where the light would catch, this is where there would be deeper shadows, etc. So yeah, this piece has a very obvious light source because the house itself is going to emit light. And of course we have some of the backlight, but the strongest sense of basically candlelight in this case is going to come from the house. So it was actually an interesting part because the bottom of the tree is not going to interact with that light the same way as the top of the tree or even the house itself. And again, this is very much the reason why I segmented these things, because I'm dealing with 3 types of light interactions, and it's just easier for me to sort of focus on one block at a time. Find whatever works for you, of course. Alright, something else that's very important, especially as you can see in a piece like this, is texture. So when you're trying to capture something as soft and atmospheric as scent, or in this case, something very rough and bark-like, because we're dealing with a tree here, so you want that roughness, but you also want that warmth of an actual painting and the candlelight and all that kind of stuff. So texture is your best friend, and I always start by picking my favorite textured brushes and I say that in plural, but 9 out of 10 times it comes down to the one single brush. I have it's literally called the Amazing Texture Brush, and it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. I can recommend this brush to everybody. It's a very painterly style brush, and it has this incredible sensitivity to it. Yeah, so it's nothing clean or mechanical. It's very organic, and it also plays with different shades of color in one stroke. So it really it behaves like actual paint. Sometimes when you use acrylics or even watercolors or gouache, you get these different color variations simply because the paint is thicker or thinner in different parts of where your brush touched the paper. This digital brush behaves exactly the same. I really like brushes that mimic dry media. So things like, charcoal is cool, but also the very thick sort of oil paint kind of texture. So yeah, I say dry media, but by that I basically mean even paint, but then undiluted. So very dry, sticky, gooey paint. Simply because it'll give you that slightly imperfect, sort of grainy edge. In Photoshop, I have a set of custom brushes that I've collected and gathered over the years. But I usually pick the one that I mentioned just a second ago. It doesn't matter if I need it on size 2000 or if I use it on size 2, which I actually do sometimes. My brushes can be so tiny, it's crazy. And there was a time where I used to blend down those brushes. I've really sort of stepped down from the blending because this brush doesn't need any of that. It blends all by itself, and I freaking love it. It's great. It's fantastic. I have no idea how that would work in Procreate because I'm sorry, I don't work in Procreate. But I'm pretty sure there are some neat alternatives to that in there. Sorry to disappoint you guys. I'm a Photoshop person. Alright, and when all that stuff is set up, you get to the fun part, which is the detailing. It's funny because I think it's been like 2 or 3 years ago now, where I showed someone one of my illustrations along with one of the time-lapse videos of it, and he said, "How can you grab the right color just immediately?" And I just laughed because I don't. I never, ever pick the right color immediately. If you look carefully, you don't even have to look carefully, just look at the video. You see that I'm constantly color correcting. I am just all the time grabbing a different shade of that color, brush it a couple of times, grab a bit darker, and then move the brush again. Add a different color with a different opacity, then add another color on top of that, just until you get the color right. I know it's always a bit tricky when you show these things in time-lapse videos because, yeah, you see the process of about 14 to 15 hours in this case. You just see it as a whole, like you see it start to finish, as if I'm not making any mistakes. But I promise you, more than half of the time, what I'm doing is fixing my mistakes. It's fixing me grabbing the wrong color. It's fixing the wrong shade or the wrong light reflection. Like art is basically just problem solving, and you are creating the problems as you go. And I cannot make that more philosophical than it currently sounds. But that's literally what it is. There is no perfect art. There is no way that you can do this right the first time. Just, that's weird. Like, you can't. And I was so, yeah, like when this guy asked me that or said that to me, I was like, dude, are you even watching? Are you even looking at what's happening on the screen? And I think he realized the sort of mistake in asking this, because yeah, he was just sort of slowly nodding, like, oh yeah, I can see what you mean. And it was just a funny moment, but yeah. So the subject here is detailing, and basically detailing means constantly dealing with your mistakes. And you know what? That's the fun part. That's the actual cool part of creating art, is responding to what you're doing. Like every single brushstroke is a reaction to the brushstroke before, and it's the process of thinking about that action reaction. So I did this, now what do I do next to sort of fix that or make that better or enhance it? And it's fascinating, really. It's so much fun, and it really gets you in this sort of relaxed state of brain. It's nice, and it's really, that's where the art happens. Like, sure, everybody can create a color palette. I'm pretty sure there are good tools out there on the internet that can help you grab colors and create color palettes. You know, we can all, I'm pretty sure we can all get the hang of blocking out values, and once we start to understand the physics behind things. But the whole, like the actual application of the brushstrokes and the color and everything, that's again, that's where the fun part happens. But yeah, that's it for today's piece. From inspiration to final polish. I hope walking through these sort of process segments gave you ideas for your own work, whether it's in the value blocking or the way I build up my textures or how I play with light for that matter. Again, if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, please consider liking this video and maybe hit that subscribe button while you're at it. You can share it with your buddies. They might enjoy this too. And if you like access to bonus tutorials, behind the scenes videos, and exclusive merch, you can join me on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Anyway, thank you so much for spending your time with me here. Whether painting along or sketching ideas for your next piece, or maybe you're just hanging out for some creative company, it means the world to me. Thank you so much. I hope to see you next time. Keep on creating, keep exploring, and keep finding the beauty in the little things.